The biggest issue that we run into is from the time we're 0 to 12, that's what sets our financial thermostat. In my life during that time, my dad adopted me when I was 2, and my dad moved us when I was 9 to Australia, and then we moved in junior high to get another bump up, and so just leveling up. During those prime time years, it was kind of like lower income, lower middle class. That sets certain things in your brain. When I got out of college and I made $100,000, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a lot. It took my dad so many years to make all this. And we just didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about being an entrepreneur. We didn't talk about sales. We didn't talk about these things. And so I think it took me a while to be around people that their financial thermostats were either forced or raised really high to be able to understand, okay, wait a second. I need to buy assets. I need to be putting the money into these things that are going to pay me for a long period of time and think longer term, and not just be so hand to mouth with it, because you get to that upper limit of your financial thermostat and you feel like, I don't deserve it. I'm going to go hire people. I'm going to go spend money on this marketing channel. And I think that's the problem that real estate entrepreneurs have, and it crushes them.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Disruptors. Today we have Brent Daniels with TalkToPeople.com back again. If you don't know Brent, obviously a major player in the Phoenix market. And today we're talking about what real estate investors get wrong and how it's costing them everything. Guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on the show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire. In the next 5 to 7 years, you will take consistent action. You will become one. And guys, if you get value out of today's show, please hit that subscribe button. That way we can help more people. Sorry if I sound kind of crazy. I got crazy man over here.
That's right. I'm
Brent,
throwing you off.
One of my favorite people.
Yeah.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So you and I were at an event not too long ago. Oh, by the way, we're redoing this because my server got hacked.
Yeah.
Right?
Bummer, man. Yeah.
I know. I tried to pay the hackers, but their Bitcoin wallet was invalid. Completely inconvenient.
What a shocker.
Yeah, actually, it's not a shocker, but yeah. So anyway, we were talking, and there were all these things you were talking about as far as making healthy investments, philosophy inbound versus outbound. But I wanted to talk to you. You just jump right into it.
Yeah.
What real estate investors are getting wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
most real estate investors, when they're starting out, buy bad deals, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the first thing. I see so many people buying in these lower income areas to get the cash flow, but the cash flow versus the repair cost and vacancy cost and turnover cost of those properties is bananas.
Yeah.
That to me is the biggest quicksand in real estate investing, is those low income housing for the extra cash flow. You got to buy them cash. You got to buy them. They're $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in economies that are going down every single year. There's no appreciation. And so I think people buy a lot of bad deals in that sense. I think people buy a lot of bad deals in the sense of, just because I can, I should. And that's usually when you see creative deals, when people are either taking over deals sub 2, or they're doing a creative finance and they're able to do the deal, but it's in areas that aren't desirable. It's not in the areas that have good school districts. It's not in the areas that are going to appreciate really well. It's not going to be in the areas that the tenants take really good care of this. And so you just see people just getting absolutely swallowed up by these portfolios that they want to build. And they're able to say that they have all these doors, whether it be 10 or 15 or 50 doors, but it's killing their lifestyle. It's wrecking their business because the attention that they put on their portfolio is bananas. Or even worse, they go and get a property manager to take care of all of these headaches, and the property manager doesn't care. They'll find somebody else to give them a portfolio to manage. So they're kind of doing an okay job keeping these properties filled up, but the conditions are getting really rough, and the cash flow just gets totally eaten up.
One of the things I've seen investors do wrong, right? Like, I get into wholesaling, I start doing deals. And I'm doing deals, I start buying properties.
Yeah.
Right? You hear the older guys in the business, what's your biggest regret? It's selling all those properties, right? That's what they say is their biggest regret.
Yeah.
But we also see on the flip
side. You mean
side,
the super wealthy guys that made all their money from flipping houses?
Yes, those guys.
I mean, look at it though. They're still rich.
Yes.
They probably still have investments. They're probably still buying assets. Should they have cherry picked? Of course. You and I both know we've sold properties that we should have kept for a long time. Maybe,
Right.
maybe not. Maybe it would have ruined our current business. Maybe it would have, poured molasses on, the all of the systems and
Well, that's where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So, like, let's say, you hear one mantra. It's like, keep every third, keep every fourth, keep every sixth, right? Whatever it is,
sure.
right? There's all these different variety, depending maybe on where you live in the country.
Yeah.
But like, if I keep every fifth property, what you're suggesting is potentially I start buying rentals that don't work out
Mm-hmm.
the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
And now it's a distraction from my active income.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
And it keeps you in your business longer.
Mhm.
If our plan is to move from self-employed to business owner to investor, right? In the whole cash flow quadrant, rich dad, which we can get into a little bit, but if we're in there, how are we supposed to replace ourselves if our attention's going towards being an investor? I think you make the move to business owner, you pull yourself out of the day to day, and then you cherry pick the best deals because you can
So-
put your attention on that.
Take a step back.
Yeah.
Cash flow quadrant.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the four?
Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. That's how do you get income into your household?
Right.
Those are the four ways.
Employee, you work for somebody.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
W-2,
Right. Self-employed.
1099.
Right. So you're working on your own,
Yep.
or you're working as a salesperson for somebody else. Or what do we? How do we define?
In real estate, typically we're salespeople.
Right.
I mean, that's the skill that we build. It's our effective communication with property owners to find great opportunities and then turn those opportunities into income, right? Whether that's flipping, whether that is assigning or novations or whatever else, but
Yeah.
you get it.
And then business owner
Yeah.
is you have people working for you.
Yeah.
Right. An investor is when you're out of it completely to being the business owner,
Yeah.
or maybe just a different business altogether where you're not actively involved.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So you're saying that if we're buying rental properties as a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
to become, an investor, we're potentially pouring molasses on the business.
Yeah. If we're self-employed and buying rental properties, it's going to take us longer to get out of our business, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So can you talk about some of the places? I mean, you've coached how many people in your program?
One-on-one over 3,500.
3,500.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 7 years, Steve. I started in 2017, and but we started the business in 2004, right? When did you jump in?
2007.
2007, right? Perfect. Yeah, great time.
Great time.
So I got my license in 04, really got going as an agent, and then owned a brokerage and did all that, and then was raising funds to buy properties at the foreclosure auctions because that was the best place to get deals.
We're the best.
And flip those properties. And that was a good time until the hedge funds figured that out, and then became an agent again, and then figured out what wholesaling was, what assigning deals was, or replacing myself in a purchase agreement was.
Yeah.
And then from there, I talked to 45,000 property owners, right? Just banging phones for 5 years, Steve, of 9 to noon making calls. And it started out with canceled expired listings,
Because you were
for sale by
from
owners.
Mike Ferry's school.
Mike Ferry School of get out there and earn it,
Go
right?
Get punched in the face as much as you can, as fast as possible.
Get as much rejection as possible,
Yeah.
build up your skills of human communication, learn how to get into a conversation and make people feel comfortable instantly. And so it took a while to build that up, build those skills up, and door knocked 15,000 doors. I mean, really was in the hustle season for a while.
Yeah.
And then was able to start hiring really great talent. And it took me a while to find the right talent. And now I'm out of the day to day, and now I can look at being an investor.
Right.
Yeah.
So in coaching along the way,
Mhm.
right? How many of your coaching students did you see? All right, I'm doing deals now. It's time to buy properties.
Yeah, I tell them, listen, you can't buy a rental property unless you have 300,000 after tax in an account.
You tell them that now.
Yeah,
But that you didn't start.
they
off
don't
that-
listen to that. By
you
the
didn't start
way,
off that way.
well, listen, everybody's goal is to grow their wealth, grow their net worth, have enough passive income to be able to cover all the expenses, right? That is the goal. When I do one-on-one welcome calls with all the students over the last 7 years, it is what is your big goal? My big goal is I want to own a bunch of property, and I want that property to be able to pay for my lifestyle, and I want to be out of the rat race. That's it. I want to be out of it. I want to be out of the day-to-day worrying about money. I've got other things to worry about. That one I want off the checklist, right?
Right.
And so, great. How are you going to get there? You know what I mean? How are you going to have enough funds to buy enough of these opportunities? Are you going to raise funds? Or are you going to buy these yourself? Are you going to partner with people and go and do it a little bit at a time, or do you want to go faster with this? I want to go faster with this. Great. Don't buy any rental properties for the next 2 years.
Yeah. What do you hear there?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
And then, but you say they don't all listen.
No.
So what do they tell you when you say this?
They say, yeah, that this is what I say. I say build your cash machine first. Whether that's assigning or flipping depends on where you're at in the country. Depends on if you have a real estate license or if you want to get one. If you don't want to get one, great, flip properties. If you do get one in states that need a license to assign deals, then just assign deals. But build up this cash machine to add to your income side of things, so that you can, one, destroy all the bad debts you have, right? The credit card, the student loans, the car loans, all that stuff that is just, liabilities. Get rid of all of that stuff, and then start buying assets, But build it up first. And listen, everybody has their own plan. All I'm telling you is I see people really successful wholesalers and flippers destroy their business as soon as they start adding to their rental portfolio.
So let's talk about that. You have some anonymous, of course, right? But you have case studies where you've seen like someone that was killing it as wholesale and crushed their business as a result.
Well, I see a lot of wholesalers destroy their business with flips.
Yeah.
That is the Achilles heel of us out there running and gunning, finding opportunities, is then, oh, look at this. If we flip this one, we can make $100,000. But if we assign it, we can only make 40. And then you go and you flip that house and you make 45,000. It takes you 6 months. You went out and you were at Home Depot picking out colors that is non-income producing, as opposed to being in front of property owners, having good quality conversations and doing what's actually income producing. If people understand that having conversations and making offers to property owners is the highest and best use of your time when you're self-employed, they win. They win every time. It's a numbers game. I will 100% guarantee. I don't know which camera to look at. There's so many great cameras in
They're all great.
100% of the time, if you have enough conversations, make enough offers, you will win.
All right. So you've seen wholesalers really go off the path, flipping. But going back to rentals, then, like, what situations have you seen where like someone's buying rentals and then their business just went to a dumpster?
There was like early on, 17 through like 20, it was like, oh, I'm going to go buy this turnkey rental property. I give them 60,000. They start sending me checks, and it was a scam. I mean, people were buying properties that weren't real properties. It was literally like a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They were just raising more funds to send more rental checks to people. I mean, big people in our industry were like picked off by this. I mean, they lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But then
Really?
even worse were the people that actually bought the turnkey rentals and bought a bunch of them. And then all of a sudden they realized that the properties are getting destroyed. They're not worth what they bought them for. They got these properties that were totally renovated with a renter in it. A year later, the renter's out of it and the property's destroyed. And now now they have to sell to me or somebody else like me for a cash as is offer, because they don't want to put money they don't have money to put into these properties. So turnkey rentals, and also buying in areas that don't have strong economies.
So a few weeks ago we had Sharon Lecter here.
Yeah,
right,
awesome.
Co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is the reason why I'm in real estate.
Me too.
And there was this like beautiful dream of, if you just buy properties, it's mailbox money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful dream.
Yeah.
Not quite reality. And so you're telling me if I buy a 20 cap in Indianapolis, it's not a 20 cap.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to look at the specific deal, but
pro
I would
forma
say
20 cap.
overall, I would
It's a
say
pro forma 20 cap.
I would say that it's bogus.
Yeah.
I would say that you're wasting your time. I would say you need to buy in areas that appreciate. You got to buy in areas where they're building new jobs. 14%, Steve. 14% of this beautiful country of ours is populated. 14%. Okay, there's a reason for that. It's called infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's called economy. It's called lifestyle, right? It's called climate. It's all these things. Why wouldn't you want to buy assets in areas where people want to live long term? You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of opportunities to buy the trap houses and whatever. I don't even know what a trap house is. I just hear that term out. Yeah, how'd that go?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We closed on this is in Garfield Historic.
Okay.
So I closed on it 3 weeks ago.
Oh, well, that's a good area though.
Right. So we're into it for we bought it for $250.
Yeah.
And
what is a trap house? I don't understand.
my understanding, right? I mean, just blind leading the blind here, right? My
Yeah.
understanding is where you go.
Yeah.
Drugs are cooked,
Okay.
prepared. And
Yeah.
you guys just hang out
Yeah.
and just do drugs.
Oh.
Right. And so the house that we just bought, when we were walking around, I was walking around with Potter, right? Because Potter's my realtor on this one.
Yeah.
We're walking around. I was like,
The
why?
best, by the way.
Potter's incredible. Why are there 8-inch holes from the inside to the outside in 3 different places at this house?
Yeah.
Right. So we're just kind of looking at it. This is weird. And Matt's like, oh, I got it. This is how they sell drugs.
Got it. Well, you just stick your arm through or whatever? Hey.
Money comes in, drugs.
They don't know who, yeah.
Right? Because
they can't get a picture of your face, I guess.
Like the when we're walking it as the final walkthrough, like, why is this door here with a bike chain on it? Like, this just seems like an odd thing to have a bike chain for your kitchen pantry. It's like, oh, this is how they secured the materials.
Yeah, got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
but you're gonna flip it.
nah, I just wholetailed that thing. I got an offer for $305. So I mean, clear 50, not a lot of work.
So you flipped it.
Flipped it, yes.
Yeah.
Flipped it with 0. You know what I did to upgrade the property?
Nothing.
I put 4 cameras in there
Yeah.
that automatically connect to the internet.
Yeah.
And they're battery operated.
Yeah, but I think, and I've been reframing wholesaling because, it gets a bad rap. I get it. Some big time people call it bottom feeders. We're bottom feeders by doing
Big
that.
timers calling it bottom feeders.
Pretty much anybody at bigger pockets,
You know what's funny?
and other people. I mean, I think people that own a bunch of rentals think that way. I think of people that do the flips think that way. You know what I mean?
They're above it. They're
yeah,
better than us.
Exactly. They don't want to get into the nitty gritty. They don't want to sit in a living room that has feces and or
You got to shower.
a million. I did the calculations because I had a conversation. I was just curious. I'm just naturally curious, and I was talking to the seller, and I was like, and the cigarette was lit inside. And I said, well, how many cigarettes do you enjoy a day? And they said, well, I don't know, a pack and a half, 2 packs. And I go, how many are in a pack? He goes, 20. She says 20. And I said, so like 30 a day? And I go, yeah. And I go, how long have you owned this property? It was like 24 years. I go, so you sort of smoke 30? I said, is that the spot that you like smoking? Is that like your spot? And he's like, oh, yeah. I know I shouldn't smoke indoors, but, it was like 1 million cigarettes, literally 1 million cigarettes smoked inside this house. So I get it. If that's bottom feeding, great.
Yeah.
But we make the most money.
One of my best deals
Yeah.
was there was a lot of smoking in the house.
Yeah.
I foolishly thought, 1 coat of paint and one, whatever you call it, where they clean the AC ducts
Yeah.
would be enough.
No.
It was not enough.
No.
We had to have a second coat of paint and a second set of cleaning.
Oh, yeah.
And even then, freaking air fresheners all over, like the plug-in.
Yeah.
All over the house. Anyway, so going back to this, we're talking about, based off what you're just saying right here, you're talking about something people are looking at as bottom feeders.
Yep.
I was at Chris Iman's event last night, right?
Yeah.
Chris Iman had this event with the real estate commissioner there.
Awesome.
And it was a great event. It was funny to me that Chris Iman wasn't there because it was his event.
Yeah.
So I'm just hanging out with Jack.
Yeah, sure.
But I was fascinated by the real estate commissioner because the question obviously is what's going on in the regulation in Phoenix,
Yeah.
right? And she is surprisingly very wholesale friendly.
Yeah.
She knows what wholesaling is, and she's all for it.
Yeah.
And her advice was, don't screw it up for your fellow wholesalers, right?
Yeah.
So she says, I don't care about equitable interest. You mark it on MLS, whatever. Don't care. Surprised by this for a commissioner,
Sure.
right? Because like she has to report to the realtors,
Yeah.
report to her,
Yeah.
right? So she's like, I don't care about that.
You mean the realtors complain to her?
They definitely complain,
Yeah.
but she has to regulate them.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And so she doesn't care at all about our industry. She's like, it's needed in our market,
Yeah,
which was really refreshing to hear.
awesome.
Right? What she did say was, I don't care, and she's okay with memorandums.
Mm-hmm.
What she doesn't like is you can't perform and you won't release the memorandum.
That's a scam.
That's a scam.
That's a scam.
Right? So
Yeah.
she's opposed to that. She
Yep.
says, if you know friends that are doing it, slap them.
Yep.
That was what her answer was. And
Well-
then she also, the other thing was not performing. If you can't perform and you go into contract, that's not her. She said, basically, that's not my area. That's the attorney general, because that's technically fraud.
Right.
Going into contract under false pretenses,
Yep.
which is, a lot of people, our peers, teach it this way. But the third thing, which was surprising, is she does not care at all for sub 2. She does not like sub 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the one thing I was surprised. Like, I was surprised at how cool she was with wholesaling,
Yeah.
but how opposed she was to sub 2.
I'm filming this video for the man himself, Mr. Ian Ross. The guy crushes. The guy's the best person in sales I've ever seen. I've invested elsewhere and I haven't got the same results. I've gone from being a seller, making 5K a month, to being a hybrid role, making 11K a month, to now be 4 months down the line from 5K to on a closing opportunity, inbound, full calendar, with the best opportunity, the best offer in my space. OTE is around 20K a month from month 2. So I've gone from 5K to 20K. If that's not a return on your investment, I don't know what is, man. If you're a salesperson and you don't invest in sales training, you're gonna get left behind, because your job is to be better at sales. And sales training directly makes you more money.
My name is Lance McCann. I've recently switched sessions with Ian Ross. Those conversations with Ian has made me $50,000 in the past 2 deals that I've had. I was able to renegotiate, go back and renegotiate the original purchase price on one deal, and I saved $40,000, and I got another $10,000 off my other deals. Call Ian, give him a chance. You won't regret it.
If you like what you just heard and you'd like to have similar types of results, similar success, text CLOSE, CLOSE, to 33777, and we'll see if you qualify to join Advanced Sales Mastery. We are taking people from good to great.
Yeah. I think they had picked their battles. You know what I mean? There's so much going on and so many transactions.
Well, she comes from a family of real estate investors,
Oh, awesome.
right? So
Well,
they're
there you
like,
go.
so she was like,
So she knows.
she's like, I don't know why you guys are picking me to be the commissioner, because like I'm probably like the worst person you want in this seat, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we
Love
have.
it. But I was reframing my thought on wholesaling, because I think as a real estate entrepreneur, real estate investor, whatever it is, there's 3 big skills that you have to get really good at to keep leveling up in the game. First one, find deals. Easy, right? Find deals. Have the ability to have a nice pipeline of deals, whatever that is. If you want to buy in the MLS, you want to buy at the auction, you want to buy from wholesalers, you want to go direct to the homeowner, whatever it is. You want to talk and build a great relationship with agents that send you deals. Great. Find deals. Number 2,
You gotta
raise
source-
funds.
You got to source property.
You got to source deals. Yeah. Number 2, raise funds. That's it, right? The ability to raise funds, the ability to make sure that the people that you raise funds with get a nice return and you've got a good, healthy relationship. That is a huge skill. And the third one is property management, right? So those are the 3 main skills that I see as a real estate investor. That second one of raising funds, who raises more funds than wholesalers? We get 100% of the purchase price covered, and we get paid for it
Yeah.
up front. We get our share up front.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's an interesting perspective, because it's like it forces you to get real deals.
Yeah.
It forces you. And so it's not raising funds in a traditional sense of like we're gonna you
Not
do all
raising
this
funds,
and
but
we're
you're sourcing
splitting it.
capital. Right. So you're sourcing deals and you're sourcing capital.
Yeah.
Right. When I get a deal, how do I operate within this deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after you're out of the deal, you don't have the responsibility of making sure that this investor gets a return. I don't know what that investor wants to do. They might want to live in this property. They might want to hold it in their portfolio. They might want to flip it. They might want to turn it into a short-term rental.
We do, we have our sales training program, and one of the calls we have twice a month is Dispo.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, so like acquisitions, it's just straight sales. It's all sales. Dispo, where I find the most work is mindset.
Oh yeah.
They have a hard time moving a deal at whatever, the business owner says, hey, move this deal at this price. Because they have their own belief on what that property's worth.
Yeah.
And I want to say I spend like a third of the time on my calls like, stop putting your value on it. It has nothing to do with your opinion of value. What do you say? Who determines the price?
Buyer. Every time.
Buyer determines every time, right?
Every time. Whether it's this table, this book, this microphone, these cameras, a house, a cyber truck, whatever.
Yeah.
If people aren't willing to pay the price, they don't sell.
Exactly. And so the example I've used, right? Because in my lowest times, I was a realtor.
Me too. It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be okay.
Right. I still go to therapy for that. So I would show houses to young couples, and they're like, I want to live I want a 3-2 in Tempe for under 150,000. There's a time when you can get a 3-2 for under 150 in Tempe, right? And I show it to them, and I look at it like, this property's trash, right? Based off my standards.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, this property's terrible. I don't say it, but I kind of make the face, right? And like, are you sure this is the one you want? And I'm imposing my beliefs.
Yeah, your opinion.
Right?
Yep.
Which has no place here.
Right.
No place.
Yeah.
And like, I had to lose a few deals to realize, right? Like, this is better than living in a dorm room.
Yeah.
This is better than living in an apartment, right? Because they can't have their pets.
Sure.
This is better than living with mom and dad, right? So with these Dispo guys, they have a hard time getting the most amount of money because they're underwriting it based off their parameters. But like you said, we don't know the guy that's going to buy it is a buy and hold. We don't know. Maybe there's a guy that like just really loves this neighborhood, and he'll pay the most for this neighborhood.
Yep.
We can't impose our beliefs on somebody else.
Well, and there's a hierarchy of cash buyers that we sell to. There's a hierarchy of investors. At the very bottom, you're going to make the least selling to another wholesaler, right? And then
If I have to call Brent Daniels to buy my deal, I'm not making a lot of
right.
deals.
That's right. and then flippers, right? And then you get into some people that will. The hedge funds used to be fantastic, right? But not as much. But you got buy and hold guys, you got the burr guys, you got short term rentals, you've got people that want to use them as second homes, and then people that want to live in them. So there is
Don't forget the pad split guys.
the what?
The pad split guys. Those guys will pay the most.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, if you could figure out how to rent out rooms and make that something that you don't have to put your, I mean, I don't know. People like action. People like a lot of action. So if you like a lot of action, do pad split.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think, listen, at its core, I think that if you build a machine that will run without you and then be able to see all of the market changes and adjustments and watch what's going on with the deals that you sell, you can see who the best investors are that are keeping these properties, and then you can build a relationship with them, and they can literally take you under their wing and say, this is how I evaluate a deal in this market, in this zip code, in this school district.
Right.
And that's the knowledge that you want.
Absolutely.
That's what you really need. And if you're just like, oh, I'm going to go buy that house in Alabama because it's a good deal, it's 50-50. I mean, you might win, you might lose. But I don't want to play that game. I want to play the 90%, 95% that I'm going to win.
And you mentioned the third one was
Property management.
So talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, buying assets and long term, you have to be really good at managing properties. You look at somebody like Ken McElroy or some of these other guys that have these big portfolios and are able to really raise funds, is because they can manage them. If you have a terrible property manager and you try to buy an apartment complex, you better just like burn your money. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to work out for you. So that skill is huge if you're going to get the red hotel, so to speak. You know what I mean? If you're going to get that big, signature property at the end of this, which I think is the smart move. That's you need to have somebody that knows property management, and you should know it too. That should be the next thing that you really understand. Because if you're like, I know nothing about property management, but this person's a good referral and they're going to be great and they're going to be able to take care of all this, you don't know if they're overwhelmed, you don't know if they're really the person, you don't know if they're at their peak of efficiency, and you're going to push them over the top and it's going to ruin their life. Like, you got to be able to really understand the process of property management and getting really good tenants for a really long time, because turnover will kill you, vacancy will kill you, repairs will kill you.
Yeah.
And that's what a good property management will put the right people in your properties.
What I've seen with some of these apartment owners dealing with a bad property manager reminds me of the scene of The Dark Knight where the Joker's just lighting money on fire for no reason.
Yeah, in that big warehouse.
Yeah.
He's like, this is my half of money. I'm going to pour some gasoline on and slide down and throw this cigar on it. Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. So, you mentioned earlier the importance of cash flow or appreciation over cash flow. So, like, we did part in the disruption a few years. Oh, I guess we stopped doing it earlier this year, but we did it for a couple years.
Yeah.
And one of the arguments I made is like, you don't buy apartments for cash flow, right? You buy them for the forced appreciation.
Yes.
And you're kind of saying the same thing here. It's like, don't buy for cash flow, not initially, right? Buy it because it's going to appreciate the most.
Yep.
And then eventually you can live off the cash flow.
Yeah.
But initially, buy strategically for appreciation versus cash flow.
Yeah, and find markets that you can appreciate at least 6%, 5 to 6% a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not going to get that in areas where the economy is drying up in those areas, because everything goes down at that point. People move out, people don't pay property taxes, and then everything, kind of goes to shambles.
Yeah.
And so, listen, I think that there should be investors in low-income housing. I think that there should be people that are providing that for sure. But I think that, it's, I don't know. I think that it's one of those that you have to really buy those right. Like really, really, really discounted.
Well,
You know what I mean? You got to really build in a huge buffer of equity in that to be able to do that long term.
that's one way to do it. But we have, we had Mike Fitzgerald on the show. Chris Jefferson's been on here before. Like, they figured out a way to get government subsidies,
Well, sure.
right?
That's another thing.
So, like,
Yeah.
go build where the city wants you to build,
Yeah.
and they'll supplement it. So I was a commissioner. I don't know if you know this. I was a commissioner for the Health and Human Services in the city of Chandler, right? I did it for a year, right? Like, let's give back to the community.
Sure.
Let's volunteer our time.
Yeah.
Never doing that again.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But part of that was,
I was on the silent witness.
what's that?
I was in the silent witness group
Yeah.
where, people send in like tips on, people that did crime,
Yeah.
Crime. I'm so like bubbled, right? You know what I mean? But like it was, it's a lot.
You don't
dude.
see the best, right?
Mm-mm.
But in doing that, you could see like, oh, the city has this much money, this amount of money to dedicate towards this particular project.
Right.
So like for us, we can invest where cash on cash makes sense. Another avenue, if you want to invest in those areas, is you can find a way for the government
Yeah.
to subsidize your build.
Yep.
Okay. So
Which I think that's smart. They inspect it. They make sure that the people that are living in there, they go through qualifications. They're great at making sure that the people are taking care of the property, that the landlord's taking care of the property. There's a good accountability on all those. Usually there's either 6-month or yearly inspections, depending on the area,
right.
depending on their budget. Great. I think that's an interesting opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not an opportunity that I see as good as buying in really good areas, really good school districts with really good appreciation.
So you're not a big fan of me going down to Mississippi and getting 24 or 30 caps.
I mean, do what you want, but I wouldn't.
All right, so moving on. We've been doing this, right? You said over 20 years. I'm getting close to 20 years, right? There's different seasons in our journey.
Yes.
What are the major seasons inside our journey?
Well, listen, I think people underestimate how long you need to be in hustle season. I think people hire way too soon. I think people hire right
3, 4, 5
away.
months.
Well, people will hire as they get started because they get into a funnel that's all about hiring VAs to do the highest income producing activities in your business, and
Are
it
there funnels
never
for that?
works. Never works.
There's funnels that say like hire VAs now.
Of course.
Oh,
Bro, you are too good to initiate the conversation. You should just be getting the leads, going on appointments, collecting checks, bro. It's
Right.
easy. Just get these VAs. They're super trained. They'll do hours and hours and hours of work, and they'll just put these leads in your lap.
Right.
It's nonsense. It's
Not only-
nonsense.
Not only are they trained, but they have amazing work ethic,
They do.
right?
I mean, listen, they are trained, and they do. But what I'm saying is, as an entrepreneur,
well, I'm just saying, it's
you need to
sarcastic.
build. I know you are.
I'm-
You need to build the skills of effectively communicating with property owners.
But where I was going with this is that even if they are well trained, and even if they have a great work ethic,
Mhm.
you still have to manage them. And
Yes.
that is where people are like, oh, I got this VA. They'll do the work. And you just delegate.
Yeah.
Or they just abdicate responsibility.
Yeah.
All right, here are the leads. Let me know which ones want to sell.
Yeah.
And that's it. They haven't been trained on actually how to manage people effectively. If you haven't started that journey of how to manage people,
Yeah.
definitely should not be hiring.
Yeah.
So anyway, could we go back to what you were saying as far as the hiring VAs?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a lot of calls and a lot of experience to hire the right people for calls, for texting, and they did a fantastic job, and the return on investment was absolutely outstanding. But I also had all my systems in place. I also had the sales skills. I also had the ability to go and close when there was multiple offers on these properties. You know what I mean? And so I just think that people get seduced by the idea that you don't have to do any lead generation. You could just have leads in your lap, and you're going to be able to go and close them. I just don't see that as if you look at the percentage of success. I think that it's really low. I mean, some people can. Listen, so there's going to be outliers in anything. Some people can, but the majority, in my experience, they come to me after trying, and they said, I spent 3, 5, 10, 15,000 doing this or that, or whatever the new shiny object is, and it didn't work.
Well,
And it didn't work because they didn't build the skills. They might be great people generating leads for them, but they don't know how to close.
Well, they're not building the skills. They're not building the management side.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, like where we stand today in 2024 is very different than where we stood in 2020.
Yeah.
Very different than in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of your operation today is substantially better than I imagined it was in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Right? And like what we can get away with, like I still remember in 2012, like I left so much money on the table. In 2012, like follow-up wasn't even important.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
I had very little competition.
Sure.
Right? Today, even if you have a great VA and they fill out that lead,
Mm-hmm.
right? They go to TalkToPeople.com,
Mm-hmm.
right? They go to all these other websites
Mm-hmm.
and they fill them all out. Your team is on them now.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between inbound and outbound, but yeah.
Right. But your team is on it now. But on the other 3 websites, if you have a VA who's going to call that lead whenever,
Mm-hmm.
you just lost that to Brent,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because you weren't managing them correctly, because you just thought, oh, they got the leads. They'll schedule. Let me know when I need to go to the appointment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It takes longer than you expect, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It takes a lot longer than you expect for you to, one, be able to be an effective leader, to understand how to hire talent, to understand the personalities of really talented people.
Mhm.
It's like being a GM of a basketball team, of an NBA team. You know what I mean? When you have really, really, really talented people that are the top of the class when it comes to acquisitions, operations, disposition, transaction coordination. It takes a lot. You got to earn that right. And I love that. I think everybody should go through the mud. I think everybody should fist fight for a while. I think everybody should go through all those crazy emotions that we go through as entrepreneurs of, I suck. I'm great. I'm a mid, as the kids call it. You know what I mean? Like, all these things, and you got to go through all those things and earn the ability to be able to actually lead people and do it with enthusiasm and do it with experience. And I think a lot of people have imposter syndrome because they haven't done it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We have more performers in our industry, let's be honest,
Mhm.
than we have, real proprietors, real business people. You know what I mean? There's more people doing photo shoots right now as we speak for Instagram than there are people talking to property owners and closing deals. You know what I'm saying? And
I hope you're
so
wrong. I just really hope.
and so that's the problem. I mean, that truly is the problem. People think that instead of, investing into their team and into buying assets, let's go buy followers.
Yeah.
That's bananas, bro. That's insane. That's insane.
So how long?
And then on top of that, they go through the comments for the celebrations and for all the hate that they get. Their emotions are going all over the place to a point where you meet people that have these they're very good on camera. They're very good at breaking down their deals and very good at doing live calls and doing all this stuff and all that. And then you meet them and it's almost like they're on Xanax or something. It's almost like they took an Ambien and they're just like, just dead. Their eyes are dead because of all the emotions that are involved with social media.
They've been drained from all those ups and downs.
For sure.
Yeah.
You were just, I mean, I would caution that. I would say, work in silence for a long time. Do the Alex Hormozy thing. You know what I mean? Where you come out of nowhere, but you just sold a business for $50 million and you know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Gary Vee doing his thing. He was out there like hustling for years. We see peers of ours that were like in masterminds with him in like 2009 or whatever, and now he's, and
Well, so how long is hustle season?
7 years,
7 years.
I would say.
All right. And so
Yeah.
what does the end of hustle season look like?
You have $1 million net worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does your operations look like then at the end of hustle season?
You should have a profitable business. It depends on where you're at in the country. I mean, everybody's cost of living is different. But I think as long as you're sitting between 30 and 40% profitability in your business, that's a good spot to be.
Right.
As long as you're hitting your financial goals of paying for your lifestyle and having extra to get rid of your debts and then extra to be able to buy assets.
Okay. So, and we've seen this a lot. We've talked about this in Uncertainty Talks with Paul Sparks, that people think you should hustle. You should put everything back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mistake we see a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm in hustle season. I'm going to take everything I make
Yeah.
and put it back into the business.
Yeah.
And they don't pay themselves.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Well, first of all, why do you have overhead if you're not paying yourself? What are we talking about?
Well,
You could go out right now with zero budget and knock on some pre-foreclosure doors or knock on some doors of ugly houses or vacant houses and talk to the neighbors, get the contact information for the homeowner, call them up and make deals happen right now. Zero budget. You keep all of it.
yeah,
Right?
right.
But people go, exhausted.
Mhm.
I made 15 calls today. I did, or on the other end, I did 8 hours of calls. There was nothing there. I'm getting burnt out, all this stuff. It's like, that's part of it. Enjoy that. You know what? Like working hard should be the goal. You know what I mean? Everything's going to come out of conversations and offers. If you truly believe that, if I can convince the whole audience that if they have enough conversations and make enough offers, that they will win the financial game, then that's the big domino, right?
Right.
That's the big domino. That's the highest income producing activity that you can do. If I were to there and I was giving you $1,000 an hour, what would I pay you for? Would I pay you for delegating tasks?
Not sorting leads.
Or would I delegate for making logos or picking out fonts for your for your website or whatever? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
We are real estate entrepreneurs. This is how we start. This is how we go, and we cut our teeth and we get our experience. And with that experience gets skill, and with skill gets confidence, and with confidence gives us the ability to grow.
Right. But so eventually you start paying for VAs,
Yeah.
right? Organizing data, whatever. Pay for CRM.
Yeah,
You pay for,
I guess if you
stuff,
have to.
right?
I did it all with an accordion binder that I got from Staples for like $20 that had 1 through 31. And if it was the 11th, I'd pull out the 11th. I'd read my leads. I'd follow up with my leads. What are we talking about? Luke Rodfold has made millions, and all of his leads are on his wall. They're literally displayed on his wall. He just goes to the wall and he goes, "Oh, I got to call this section of the wall today."
Yeah.
Millions, raised millions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, they're on their way to huge developments and all these things. And so that's what I see. I see the people that, really just focus on if somebody were to pay me $1,000 an hour, what would they pay me for?
Yeah.
$2,000 an hour, what would they pay me for?
Well,
They're not paying you for managing your VA. They're not.
no.
They're not managing you for pulling lists. They're managing for you to find deals and lock up deals.
Right.
That's it. So if that's the big domino, why aren't we all focused on just doing that and building the skills within us to do that?
Well, so we're going to talk about in a second inbound versus outbound, right?
Ego.
Right. In a second, we're going to talk about that. But you do have to pay for leads at some point,
Sure.
right? So
Absolutely.
you're paying for leads, you got a marketing budget.
Yeah.
Right? So the mistake we've seen over and over again is like, all right, I had a 50K month,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now I'm going to take the 50K month, I'm going to go buy this CRM,
Yeah.
this tool,
Yeah.
that lead source, pull this list,
Yeah.
put 30K in the PPC.
Yeah.
And they don't keep any of it. Today's show is brought to you by MotivatedLeads.com. The problem today with many lead sources is that you have to pay for the lead even if it's not any good. So you might be a couple of $1,000s into the month on marketing spend without talking to a quality lead. And the reason why that happens is because Google, the TV station, and the post office can't say for sure which lead that calls you is a motivated seller and which ones aren't. You can't tell Google, hey, this lead isn't any good and I want my money back. With MotivatedLeads.com, the leads come to you and you can determine for yourself whether the lead is any good. And if it's already listed, a piece of land, a mobile home, or from a wholesaler, you can simply request a refund. One of my biggest pet peeves is when a wholesaler clicks on my PPC ad and asks if he can put me on his buyer's list. With Motivated Leads, you won't have to worry about that anymore. Go to MotivatedLeads.com, tell them Steve Trang sent you, and get a $300 credit today. Put 30K in the PPC. Yeah. And they don't keep any of it.
Well, first of all, that 50K is not 50K. That 50K is more like 32K after taxes.
Right.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you have a business partner in this whole endeavor, right? Let alone your business partner with property taxes and sales taxes and state taxes and all those things, right? So you made 50, but the reason people start running it up is they go, oh, I'm an LLC. I make 50, but I could put money. It's either I give it to the government or I, buy this, invest in this whiz-bang thing that's going to give me a bunch of deals, or invest in this great trained person that's going to do all these things, or I bring on these. I'd rather give money there. And this is how I felt. I mean, this is how I got into really deep trouble with expenses, is because, but that's every month you have to pay for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that is now a responsibility that you have to pay for, that you just invested in this long-term thing that's going to take money from you. Right?
Every month.
Right. So it's like you were talking about put money back into it. You should pay yourself you should have a minimum standard for how much you take home a month. And I think I want to set it for everybody listening to this. It should be a minimum 20 grand a month.
20 grand a month.
20 grand a month after taxes. So that's more like 30, 35 that you're making.
So,
and you don't hire anybody until if you're taking out of your 20K a month to go and invest in your business, you're going to be out of the business in a year and a half to 2 years.
So from what I'm hearing is, until you're clearing 20K by yourself on just pure effort on your own, you should not start incurring monthly expenses.
I think that if there's tools, if there's a dialer, if there's a skip tracing, if there's places that you pull lists, I think that you can keep your budget under $2,000 a month and do that. Right. Yeah,
Gotcha.
for sure.
Okay, and then not trying to bring up like a sore subject here.
Yeah.
Right. But you had to pay the price of some heavy obligations when the market crashed.
Bro, 5 foreclosures. I saw the Mercedes CLS 550, which is kind of an old man's car, but I was young. It was fast. I liked it.
It was a beautiful car.
That was repoed. The Range Rover.
Were you there when it was repoed?
Repoed, yeah. I watched them.
It's
like the middle of the night.
It's got to be some scars.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, oh my God, what is going on with my life?
So
I got a judgment. I got served at 27 years old. Got served with the judgment for $742,000 for not paying the remainder of a 10-year office lease.
Pretty good there. I put $700K right here.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I mean, business credit cards. My credit was so bad, Steve. I couldn't go. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, and I think Bank One was there at the time before everything got kind of consolidated. All of them would not give me a checking account. I didn't even know they checked your credit score for a checking account. They wouldn't give me a checking account because they thought I would overdraft. That's how bad my credit was. I mean, what's the bottom? 400?
I've never seen anything lower than 400. 350 allegedly, but
Yeah.
I've never seen stuff. I think 440 is the lowest.
I was 11.
Yeah.
That was my credit score, 11. No, it was bad, dude. I mean, it was that bad. And so it was because I thought that if I reinvest in my business, if I go and hire really great people that I can replace myself with, and that I'll pay them $1, but I'll get like $3 or $4 out of their efforts.
That's what they say in the book.
And yeah, I mean, on paper, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You got to be the person that deserves that.
Yeah.
You got to be the person that can lead that. You got to be the person that can recognize changes in what's going on in the market. You got to be a person that has backup plans to the backup plans. You have to be a person that's very conservative with your approaches for long-term profitability. And that was very difficult for me because I'm not. I'm a run and gun, wild ego, nice cars, 3,400 square foot house with 4 dogs and 2 people. And it's like, I say all these things not like bashing younger people or people starting out or whatever. I'm saying these things from real experience. And this isn't just mine. This is most in this business. Most don't stay in this business for a long time. Look at the coaching companies that have been around over 10 years.
Not a lot.
Where are they? Where's the gurus that have been around for over 10 years?
Can't think of a lot of them, right? Over 10 years, we got John Burley, who was on the show recently.
Okay. Keep going.
I don't have.
Keep going, right?
Ron LeGrand, we see at the family mastermind.
Always a staple. Yep. That's it.
Eddie Speed. That's it.
Sure.
Yeah. It's hard, but it was hard. It was hard to find these people, right?
No. How many flipping coaches?
Oh, flipping coaches.
How many wholesaling coaches? How many, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason for that. It's because people don't have financial intelligence. And that's the biggest thing. The title of this show, right? Of this, whatever the subject is all about, how investors lose everything.
Yeah, how real estate investors get it wrong. What real estate investors get wrong and how it's costing them everything.
Yeah. Ego. They want to be performers. They want an audience.
Accolades.
Of course, bro.
I made a comment the other day. It might come back to bite me. Who knows?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that all the guys that were banging the gongs every time they closed a deal or signed a contract?
Where are they?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, all those big teams got washed out in 2022.
Right.
Yeah. Overhead. I mean, that's just financial literacy.
Yeah.
How much income versus expenses and how many assets do you have over your liabilities?
Right.
And I'm telling you, your wholesaling business is not an asset. Your wholesaling business is the cash machine that helps you buy the assets. But if you're not taking money home and then buying it into long-term investments that's going to pay you over a long period of time, then you're making a huge mistake. But that's financial literacy 101.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that the biggest issue that we run into is from the time we're 0 to 12, that's what sets our financial thermostat. And in my life during that time, my dad adopted me when I was 2. My biological dad and my mom, I mean, my mom's my mom, but my biological dad bounced. He loved partying. So my mom's like, boom, at like 6, I was 6 months old. So I'm living in a bathtub in my uncle's house that he rented. Yeah. And then my mom met my dad at a company called Garrett that turned into Allied Signal, that turned into Honeywell. And my dad moved us when I was 9 to Australia to get a pay raise. So we moved to Melbourne, Australia for a year. Yeah. And then we moved in junior high to get another bump up My dad moved to Frankfurt, Germany for a year. I went there for a whole summer. And so just leveling up during those prime time years, it was kind of like lower income, lower middle class. I mean, we were doing okay, but it wasn't anything crazy. But that sets certain things in your brain. You know what I mean? It set when I got out of college and I made $100,000, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a lot. This is a lot. It took my dad so many years to make all this, right? And we just didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about being an entrepreneur. We didn't talk about sales. We didn't talk about these things, right? It was like dad goes to work, mom goes to work, and we play sports and get together as a family and have dinner every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think it took me a while to be around people that their financial thermostats were either forced or raised really high, and to be able to understand, okay, wait a second. I need to buy assets. I need to be putting the money into these things that are going to pay me for a long period of time and think longer term and not just be so, hand to mouth with it, because you get to that upper limit of your financial thermostat and you feel like I don't deserve it. So I'm going to go hire people. I'm going to go spend money on this marketing channel. I'm going to go and promote myself and do all these things, right? I think that's the problem that real estate entrepreneurs have, and it crushes them.
Get the
crushes
cameraman
them
to follow you around.
Yeah.
Get the videographers.
Bro, we have a friend that literally put a billboard out when he hit 1 million followers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Trying to remember who this was.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not at 1 million anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that if you focus on keeping your head down, finding really great deals, building a real business, pulling yourself outside of that business and being a real business owner, making sure that it's raining really good inbound leads at some point, you can have a really great cash machine that helps you buy assets. And then you can teach. And then you could coach. And then you can go from a perspective of, hey, listen, I know what the worst looks like, and I know what like the high life looks like, and I'm going to steer you in the direction that makes sense.
Well, we got to see all our colleagues experience this in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
And a little bit again in 22, 23.
22, dude, if anybody wants to do a really interesting experiment, go look at the search volume for wholesale real estate in 2021 and go look at the search volume right now.
Wholesale real estate.
Wholesale real estate. Go look at the Google search. There's like a chart.
Yeah.
And you'll see 2021, it's like here, and now it's maybe 10% of what it used to be.
All right, we're definitely gonna look that up.
It's incredible. Well, Batch did their whole study. Did the whole study, and they looked at in 2022 how many people were considered wholesalers or have done a wholesale transaction, and it was like 70 to 90 million. There was a range. Now it's like 10 to 20, dude.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
why? Because people didn't last. People didn't build real skills.
Right.
If they were making money, they'd stay in it. Right?
It was easy.
Well, it was easier if you didn't have skills. Yeah. But when that's what I'm saying. When the market shifts, the people that have the skills are the ones that now we're doing better than ever.
Right.
We're doing better than ever.
So one thing we talked about in a previous episode was that you also have your house paid off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's different.
Mm-hmm.
So give me some perspective on that.
Well, listen, I think that even with an investment portfolio, I think the goal is to get it all paid off. I think debt pay down through the rents of that you receive over the years, paying down all your mortgage, it takes a long time. You're paying interest for most of the first 10 years. I mean, if you look at the scale, it's like, interest is here and principal's up here, right? It's very heavy in the interest. And so you got to own these. If you buy a property, you should feel like you're going to own it for a really long time, or you're going to really buy at the right time, package it, and go buy something bigger.
Right.
And I think that the goal, if you really want cash flow, then you can't have debt. You can't have debt on those things. Or there's two sides. There's the Kiyosaki, go buy 6,000 units and have a bunch of debt on them and have great cash flow because you have huge volume. Or there's Zach Keeps, where he owns 300 rentals, he has 90 million in equity, and he has 30 million in debt. You know what I mean? Like, which side do you want to play on? Which side are you going to get the biggest amount of cash flow from?
Right.
And so there's a couple different ways to do that. But I think the more approachable way is Zach Keep's way of just adding properties each and every year
One's a lot.
and paying it down.
One survives the downturn a lot better than the other.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and then you get into commercial loans versus residential loans, and commercial loans, man, they'll call those due.
Right.
You know what I mean?
At a moment's whim.
Oh yeah.
You don't even have to miss a payment.
Oh, brother. I'm telling you. So yeah, I mean, I think that the way that Zach, I've really been digging into what Zach, I had no idea. I had no idea how many properties Zach had. I had no idea how much equity he had. It blew my mind. I was on the 11 out of 10 podcast with Robert Wensley and them, and it blew my mind. He did that in 12 years, bro.
Yeah, he likes to manage.
He does. He manages them all himself.
All of his property.
He loves his action.
He loves meeting with the tenants.
Loves it.
But yeah, like he figured something out. So let me ask you this: for the people listening,
Yeah.
Is it possibly, you're starting to overcorrect like Dave Ramsey?
On paying things off?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think paying bad debt off is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that you can accelerate the end date. Like if you were to look at your portfolio and say, okay, I'm gonna have all these paid off so I can have all this cash flow coming in. It's interesting. My old next door neighbor, his parents had an 8-plex that was next to him. So it was 2 down from my house in Central Phoenix. And he didn't work. He didn't do anything. All of his money came from that rental property that he owned free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, have you ever like pulled out equity? Have you ever done any of that? He said, why would I do that? That would lower my monthly income. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this guy got it. And he owns a couple more. Mm-hmm. He only owned 3 properties living total, like he does nothing. He stays up all night. He sleeps all day. He's like a bohemian type of guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just living the life because his parents bought 1 multifamily and two rental properties and paid him off.
Yeah.
Now, do I want my kids to do that? No. I mean, I think if your kids at 40 or 35 or 40 inherit this big wealth and they haven't made it themselves, you have bigger problems. Okay, let's be honest. You didn't do your job in showing them how to have some financial intelligence. But yeah, I think if you want your end day faster, then stop taking any cash flow home and just put more towards the principal payment on those loans, pay it off.
Right.
Or what Michael Jake, a great mentor that I had years ago, he said, buy twice as many properties as you need, get them all to 50% equity, sell half of them, pay the other half off, and you're out. Mm-hmm. You're out of the rat race forever.
Fascinating.
Right?
Yeah. And then at some point, like you've been known, we made the comment earlier, Mike Ferry. Mm-hmm. Right? And I said to you, you're like a younger, better looking Mike Ferry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're not
sure.
You're instead of the realtor,
definitely shorter and
less
more
angry.
Squatty.
Less angry.
Yeah.
So he was the cold call guy for real estate agents.
Yes.
You've been far and away the loudest.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone longer or louder about cold calling.
Yeah.
Right? But you've also had a transition recently.
Yep.
So talk about this recent change in your business. You spent countless weeks going back and forth with a homeowner only to lose a deal because the seller changed their mind, another wholesaler made an unreasonable offer, or what the seller needs from the sale, you just can't pay. Now imagine you've got the ultimate control on a property that you just locked up, meaning you're on title and every decision has to go through you, eliminating virtually every external threat. That's why the installment method was created. Through installment payments, you have full control of the property as your name is now on the title. Any decision the seller wants to make now has to be approved by you. No longer can they pull out equity, go with another buyer, or change their mind. Imagine combining the best of creative finance with the flexibility of marketing the property on the MLS to collect the most amount of revenue possible, all while having total control of the property. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The concept here is simple, but implementing is challenging. So visit wholesale2024.com to learn more so that you'll never have another deal blow up. Change in your business.
Yeah. So lead generation, there's only 3 ways to get leads, right? You are out there prospecting for them. You're earning them, right? You have a low budget. You're starting out. You don't have a lot to have people call you, right? That's the second part. The second part is marketing. So you got prospecting, which is door knocking and cold calling. That's it. You know what I mean? And by the way, this isn't just property owners. You could call agents. You can make offers on agents. That's very proactive. You could bid at auctions. That's very proactive, right? That's one side of it. The second way is marketing. Marketing is
So the first one's effort.
earning it.
Yeah.
Earning it. The second one is buying it. That's where I'm at now. I want inbound leads because of a couple different things. Your cash flow cycle is a lot faster when you can buy leads. So when you are out there being really proactive, expect 100 days. Expect from the first time that you talk to them to the time you actually get paid and have money in your account is 100 days. With inbound leads, our biggest one is pay-per-click, and we started TV ads locally and Facebook, all inbound. The sales cycle is 30 days. So you move your money faster. It's far more expensive. The ROI is way lower, but you can scale it up. You could keep throwing money at this. You look at some of the guys here locally that just do a phenomenal job. I can't even imagine the amount of deals Doug Hopkins does and Andrew the Home Buyer and all those guys that are building real brands that are long lasting. I mean, they walk into a house and people are like, yeah, here. You know what I mean? And so the amount of time is way shorter, and the amount of leads in your database is way smaller. So you need like 1 out of 60 to 70 when it's cold calling, even more for texting, probably 100 leads per deal. With pay-per-click, we're at like 1 out of 14. With Facebook, it's more like 1 out of 30. Those are much lower quality leads. And then TV, it's like 1 out of 4 people that call you on TV, you close. You know what I mean? You don't get a lot of calls, but I was seeing that my acquisition team was getting burnt out by so much lead follow-up every day. I mean, my junior acquisition manager, who's responsible for doing the lead follow-up, was calling 50 leads a day, just follow-up, hand dialing every day. That's exhausting.
Right.
You know what I mean? And texting and then following up. And then you got the new ones piling on you. So you get your 50 out of the way and the new ones are piling in on you. And now you've got, 52 tomorrow. And then you got 54. And then you're trying to disqualify. But then, the lead manager's like, oh, no lead left behind, and it was too much with a small team. And I know in real estate, if you can keep a real lean, efficient, really talented team, those are the ones that really last. The big old teams always get downsized if the market is an accordion, when it squeezes back in, you got to fire everybody. You got to fire a lot of people, get rid of a lot of people, or they naturally leave because they're commission only, which is a huge mistake for really talented people. Even in sales, and so they just naturally just dissolve out of the business.
What do you pay? If you're saying it's a mistake, what are you paying your sales guys now?
$80K base plus commissions on deals. So my closer will get 6%, and my junior acquisition will get 3%.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty good. So you guys are listening, might want to reach out to.
Well, none of that works unless you give them good leads. You know what I mean? And so really great, talented closers and salespeople, they want to win. They're natural winners. They love winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you got to put them in a position to win. And if you have, if they have to go through 100 leads to get one win, they're going to start looking over their shoulder for other opportunities.
Yeah. And the way you're paying them is not unlike pharmaceutical sales.
Yeah.
Or tech.
Exactly.
Sales.
And people stay in that forever.
Yeah. Really hard to get those people over.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, good luck. Pharmaceutical sales? Oh man, talk about a lifestyle. Wow.
So, so you have your own tool now.
Yeah.
You've launched.
Well, not a tool. I have a pay-per-click agency.
Yeah.
So Matt, who's my studio producer, his best friend was working at a company called T-Tech, which is Google's outsource for Google Ads accounts for these big companies. And so he had access to look at all the different companies and what seemed to be working from a, how many people go to the site, how many click on the site, how many fill it out, and how many of those end up being appointments, and how many of those end up being deals for real estate and for other industries. And so T-Tech they're kind of like a boiler room for tech guys. You know what I mean? It's not a great, whatever. It's a pretty big company, but he wanted to change. He wanted something smaller, and he wanted something where he was running the show. And so I brought Jesse on and early last year to run my own in-house. And he did, and he did a phenomenal job. And then he wanted to do more.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, do you want to open this up to my students and to other people that are at that point where they want the inbound leads? And I'm telling you, the top of the pyramid, besides referrals, referrals are number one. If you could just get a referral of like, hey, my aunt wants to sell her house, will you buy it? Great. That's the best, right? Right below that, top of the pyramid, is intent-based leads, and that's pay-per-click.
Yeah.
It's pay-per-click. People literally searching, sell without an agent, sell my ugly house,
Right.
sell fast. You know what I mean? And we pop up, they fill it out. You have to answer it within 30 seconds of getting that text message in. It sends it out to like all four of us. I even get them just because I love the action. And we're on it in 30 seconds. And we go Monday through Sunday, 24 hours. So I've got Joshua who came on board that takes the shift from like 5 to 7 a.m., 5 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Wow.
and weekends. And then Chad and Ryan's team takes it during 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 7 to 5 or whatever. Yeah.
Reminds me of floor time.
Yeah, it is. It's 100% floor time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. But it's money time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they're filling out 3 or 4 forms on a website and we're the only ones calling them at 8:47 at night, we're setting that appointment.
But it's funny like how many things I've taken from the realtor world and applied it into our industry.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Floor time is just that classic, like, oh, you're the best closer. All right, you get this time.
More
slot.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get prime time.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
fascinating.
absolutely. Well, listen, it's that's you earned that right. You know what I mean? But inbound has radically changed the business. I mean, it is like that because I'm spending $100,000 a month right now.
Spend $100,000 a month.
$100,000 a month, 50 on TV, which just started. That's like but I see the guys doing it over and over and over, and I think I know the stats, and I've got the right team and the right systems in place to be able to handle inbound. Before I didn't, Steve. That was a big problem. That transition from outbound to inbound, where you're just kind of like, oh, I'll get to that lead whenever, right? No. This is you don't have a schedule. This is you got to be available all the time. This is you better love the action, or you're not gonna make it in this.
Yeah. I'm curious. Have you talked to Kyle with Andrew, the home buyer?
Yeah, he's like, why are you copying my name?
Yeah.
No, he's great. I mean, talk about a guy that just prints money. That guy's like a money machine.
That guy's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that because we're Joe Homebuyer. That's what he was saying. He's like, I saw your ad. It's like Joe Homebuyer, I'm Andrew the Homebuyer. What the hell? I was like, yeah, it's a franchise out of Utah. Don't worry. Like I didn't name it.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. But I haven't talked to him in a while.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just curious if you were comparing notes with him because he's obviously running with.
I should. Yeah, I really should.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, we're coming up at towards the end. Anything else we haven't talked about that you want to make sure we emphasize?
I think just what would people pay you $1,000 an hour to do, and how do you do that all day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think if people really frame it that way and really focus on that, especially for their first 7 years or until they have $1 million net worth. And I'm not just talking like in your house. Your house doesn't count, right? You know what I mean? You live there. That's a $1 million net worth outside of your house, outside of what you think your business is worth, outside of all that. Assets, real assets outside that you don't use. Just focus on that. Just head down, and you'll survive all the different markets. You'll survive whoever's in the White House. You'll survive whoever's in Congress. You'll survive the interest rates. You'll survive inflation. You'll survive anything that they can throw at you. You're going to be bulletproof if you just focus. What would somebody pay me $1,000 an hour to do?
Yeah, or put another way, would I pay someone $1,000 an hour
to do that?
Yeah.
All
right. So if someone wanted to find out more, talk to people.
TalkToPeople.com is our PPC agency. We are going bananas with it, Steve. It is so much fun. I am telling you, there are some markets out there that people aren't. I want to get into these markets. You know what I mean? Because you get in with Google ads in these markets, it is like wide open. And I'm not just talking just as like being bombastic. It is crazy. Yeah. If you really have somebody that really knows how to put together your website, really monitors your leads, really make sure that you're getting on it, and you have the training to make sure that your systems are in place to be able to do it, it's unstoppable. It's a no-brainer. It's awesome.
What are the 2 or 3 biggest system changes you had to make?
30 seconds to a lead, 24/7, and we set an appointment right away. We're almost like a plumber mentality, or an electrician, or a roofer. Like, they call in before we're getting into pre-qualifying and doing the whole dance and this whole thing. Okay, great. What is your address? Fantastic. We have an availability today at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or tomorrow at 11 o'clock. What works for you? Okay, great. So tell me about the property, right? We are, and somebody's going on that appointment, and it's either going to be a real estate agent. If it's a beautiful house that should go retail, if it's original condition or rough, we're sending our acquisition team. So that, I'll give you a 4th one. Have a really good realtor on your team, and probably have somebody on your team that has a license so that you can get 50% referral fees.
50. Nice.
Dude, I'm loading up Stacy and her team. Stacy Granger on my team, who's with North & Co. She's on 5 to 10 listing appointments a week.
Yeah.
You
Pretty
know,
good.
you list 30% of those. Now we're talking.
I'm trying to think, like, that's a name I haven't heard in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
We used to have our meetups.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so talktopeople.com.
Yes.
Guys, if you got value today, again, please like, subscribe, share. You're listening on iTunes. You're listening on Spotify. Please give a 5-star review. How can someone get a hold of you?
My phone number is no.
All right.
Yeah. So some call rail number. No. Just Brent. Just find me on Instagram. We put a lot of love and attention into our YouTube channel as well. It's not a traditional. I'm not a YouTuber. You know, I think that I've been put on this planet to be a teacher. Wanted to be a teacher. Went to NAU and started the education program, and then kind of made some decisions there. Basically, I just didn't want to be a government employee, to be honest. But we put a lot of love and teaching into the YouTube channel, so check it out, Brent Daniels on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Steve.
it.
You're the man.
Yeah.
I love you.
Like you too.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Shout out to Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. Disruptors.